Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Betty, and I'm dialing up from beautiful Southern California again. And today we have a very special guest. Um, I've been talking to Sudhir Chadalavada for a long time. In fact, he has been an advisor for one of my mentor-mentee relationship that I've had with a CEO of a large organization in Southern California. And this is how we met. And I have gotten to know Sudhir throughout the years. And, when you get to know somebody for a long time, you get to know the ins and outs of their life and their business and how things actually progress in their life. And Sudhir had a big major loss in the last year. And we were talking about it recently, and I thought that I would bring all of you to this room so that you can really appreciate the value of understanding the relationship between grief and gratitude and purpose, and how grief doesn't have to be something that takes you in this spiral, but grief can actually be an opportunity for us to reinvent ourselves and come out on the other side of grief from a different perspective. So I would like to welcome you, Sudhir. And we've got some work that's being done in this building, so please disregard behind me. These are great guys and they're doing some great job. But go ahead, Sudhir, welcome.
Thank you so much, Betty. Welcome. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you. Always a pleasure to have a
Thank
conversation
you.
with you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And you put it correctly. I like the way you describe grief and gratitude and purpose. So I'm looking forward to our conversation. Known you for a long time. It just keeps getting better and better, the relationship. It's a joy to be here this morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, why don't we start with tell us a little bit about you, what you do for a living, because I think the audience will really want to know. If you just give us just a blurb, and then we can get into the topic.
Great. I'm a leadership consultant, coach, and mentor, speaker, and seminar facilitator. I think this is what I wanted to do all my life, but that's not how I started. I grew up in India, was a decent student, became an engineer, came here and got a master's in engineering. But all I wanted to do in my life was understand human behavior, human motivations, what makes us tick, what's the key to a great life, and what's the key to inspirational leadership. That's been my search and quest all my life. And it's wonderful to be working with some amazing people and leaders who are on that journey, and I partner with them. And together we are on this great journey with many people. Like yourself, you know this very well, Betty.
I do, but my audience doesn't. So I just want to make sure that they know what you do for a living, because you're a very talented executive strategist and coach and advisor for different organizations at the very highest levels, which is where you and I met. And
Right,
that's where you
right.
and I tend to meet each time. It's so wonderful to have a friendship with you. Um, so recently you had a loss. Your beautiful wife passed away. Tell us about that.
But it was devastating, Betty. It's been barely a little over a year. I have not faced this kind of loss and this kind of tragedy so suddenly ever in my life.
Of
When
course.
you're on Earth for a few years, obviously we experience death of close people. I've lost my mom and dad, but nothing even comes close, Betty, to what happened here. Wife, my love of my life, the only person I loved, the only person I was ever married to for 30 years. After the most amazing trip of our life together, within a few days of that, suddenly and dramatically just say goodbye, I'm gone. Man, that I just couldn't fathom it. Just imagine the shock of that. So, without mentioning any words, that was the greatest grief and tragedy of my life.
I agree. And having been married for 30 years, so much of your life is with this person. So you
Yes.
almost feel like half of you was also gone. And it's almost like, oh my goodness, it's like losing part of your body. Like,
Right.
this part of my body's gone. Now, how am I going to make it without this part of my body?
Right.
Tell us about that.
And yeah, you know what's amazing, Betty, is, as you know, relationships take work, it takes time. We care for each other, we love for each other, but we're different people, different human beings, right?
Yeah.
So to align towards a common purpose and common goal and truly support each other and tolerate each other's weaknesses and blocks, which we all have, and none of us perfect, that takes time. And the amazing part was we were at a place where we were like aligned, perfectly aligned. I'm a crazy guy. I've been driven by a purpose since I was a young kid, from my preteen years. And only two things that matter to me truly, Betty, is what's the key to a fulfilling life and what's the key to inspirational leadership. I have no idea where it came from, but ever since I've known myself, that was the journey. And the answer to those two questions cannot be got, as you know, intellectually through degrees and books. And it's a life's journey. It involves going within, asking questions like, who am I? Where am I coming from? Where do I go? What's this all about? What people call the spiritual journey. So it's very much part of that. And our life together for 30 years has been an integral part of it. She knew that about me. And even though she herself had her own interests, she fully supported me. And we were at a point we were fully aligned and like, wow, now is the best time of our life together. Let's rock, let's have fun. And then the divine or she herself or higher self had other ideas. She, I guess, felt like it was time and she led a beautiful life, a great life, and maybe a perfect way to leave. But I wish it were not at 58. It's a little too soon to do that.
Yeah, so young.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that. I can't help but think that the time that she passed away was right after an incredible trip for you. And it's almost like, and you hear about this, you hear about when people are about to die, it's almost like God allows things to happen so that you can bond. When my mother passed away, the same thing happened where we just had the most amazing conversation. It was like a 2.5 hour conversation, like the last time. And the same with my brother, where he actually came back from not being even conscious, and then he was able to talk to everybody, and then he just kind of went. You hear about these things and it's almost like ordained divinely,
Right.
right?
Exactly. Exactly. If I take myself out of the picture and just see the big picture, it seems so perfect, but it sounds crazy. But
I
in
know.
the middle of this tragedy, it's like it's perfect. She came what she was supposed to do. She did it. She didn't want to suffer anymore. She looked great, but underlying, she had some health conditions which did not surface, and she just looked perfect and who knows if she were around for some more years, it would not have been the way she would have liked to. So
Yes,
she just was full of life,
yes.
and her time had come, and it's almost like, okay, so there we had a great time. Keep the memories. I'll be supporting you. Now go do your purpose. Don't shirk away from that, right? So that's the message I keep getting, and the push I keep getting from.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? And yet, in the middle of it, when we're in it, it's so difficult to be on it, right? To be
Yes.
above it and to really see what is the greater purpose. And it's something that you and I have in common when we work with our clients. We get them to just get out of it and get on it so that then they can see from a higher place. It's almost like being in a helicopter and
Right.
looking down upon it. Then you can see the connections, but not until sometimes after this period of mourning or this
Exactly.
period of, right, that
Exactly,
in the
exactly. Well put. Right. And this is especially true for men and type A people and high-powered leaders. You cannot skip the step. You've got to grieve. You can't pretend like you're not, you're this tough person or whatever. No, you can accelerate steps, but you can't skip steps. You got to grieve, you have to take the time, feel the sadness. And the other thing, I kind of knew it, but what I discovered was to lead a full life, you can't suppress some emotions. You got to express all emotions, grief, sadness. And sometimes we make the mistake of suppressing them and only expressing joy and happiness. But that's not natural.
It's kind of like the social media, right? In social
Right.
media, you just show only your very best, and then you hide everything else. And a lot of people, I want to dig a little bit into this just a tad, because I do want to get into the topic a lot deeper. Parents often hide their feelings from their children. When they're sad, when they're mad, when they're crying, they don't want to cry in front of the kids because they feel like they need to know everything.
Right.
New leaders or newly promoted leaders, individuals that come into a new company and running that company, they feel the same way. Like
Right.
they need to have all the answers, and it's that vulnerability that gives us the opportunity to really draw other people and grow other people, isn't it?
Right. Right. Exactly. And it's so logical and natural now. None of us are perfect. We don't have all the answers. What's the point in pretending? Right? Everybody knows.
Right.
So the greatness of a person and a leader is not to know everything, but to know what you know and to know what you don't know. And when you
Exactly.
can express that openly,
Yeah.
courageously, and with vulnerability, then you draw in people and inspire them. Okay, I know this. Well, I'm a leader or I achieved a certain level of success because I know a lot of stuff.
Yes.
But let's be clear, there's a lot of stuff I don't know, and we need to figure this
Exactly.
out together. And the
Yes.
sooner I understand that and put it out, the better it is for everybody. And
Yes.
it's so simple, so logical, but yet so we make it so complicated.
I know. And I think we're the ones that complicate things. I don't think
Yes.
things are complicated. They're all pretty simple. Let's begin to morph into the conversation. When did you find gratitude in grief? Because grief and gratitude in the human sense are in opposite sides of the spectrum, right? Grief
Right.
is dark, gratitude is light. Grief
Right.
is a spiral down. Gratitude is a spiral up. Can you tell us about where those two became together in your life after your wife passed away?
Yeah, it may sound strange, Betty, but for me, I find this process of gratitude and spirituality, which I define as something deeper, bigger than ourselves.
Mhm.
I think we don't need to complicate spirituality. I feel by this definition, we are all spiritual. We all have an interest in understanding something beyond ourselves.
Yes.
So I find that to be a very logical process. So what I mean is step-by-step process. For example, when this tragedy happens, the first thing to naturally experience is grief.
Yes.
And don't jump too quickly into other steps. So that's what I did. Accept, feel the sadness, feel the grief, be open. And you talked earlier about parents and children, and we have three lovely children. And that's how we were with each other. I think that's what helped. That we would not hide our feelings, just because I'm the dad. I didn't need to pretend that I'm not sad. I was very, very clear that, I am sad. I miss mom a lot. And as you guys know, we deeply care for each other. But it's almost at the same breath, say that, but we are in this together now. We have to come out of it. Mom would like us to live our lives, to celebrate and achieve what we wanted to achieve together. So first step is that, right? Acceptance and feel the grief. And one and two, I would say. And then third is, amazingly, there's so many things to be grateful for, right? So I just mentioned we had the trip of our life. We were fully aligned. And the other thing, amazingly, Betty, this is something I think I consciously worked through our married life is I was always prepared, ironically, that when we pass, I don't want to have this, I wish I didn't say this, or I wish I had said this.
Yes, that's what
None
I
of that. No
love.
regrets.
Yes.
So that's a great blessing. Great, great. So I reminded myself, oh my God, I really don't have any. And, and some of my friends and wise counselors would say, do you feel any anger? Do you feel any frustration? No, not really. What's there to be angry about? Do I have to be angry with God? Not really. Let's look at the real purpose behind this. Let's get over the surface emotions. So I found a laundry list of things to be grateful for. Great life together, no regrets. And the only thing I had to work really hard on, a little tough, was we had so much we could have done together going forward. There's so many things I was on the verge of achieving. And she was so proud of me for being an engineer from India and making myself a career in leadership consulting and coaching. And you know how that field is. It's so completely different. So I think she would have truly enjoyed the success and increased success and recognition and so on. So that was a little tough. But then I said, hey, she hasn't left me. I had so many experiences, Betty, after she left the body of her presence. So I can feel her all the time cheering me on. And
Beautiful.
so a lot to be grateful for. Three wonderful kids. I should be there for them, to support them, to give unconditional love. And I saw myself developing what I would call even more stronger feminine characteristics, which come naturally to many women. Things like unconditional love, giving, being humble, being open. You know, there's always room to get better and deeper in those areas. And I actually found myself getting better, being more humble, being more open, and being more unconditional, not caring as much for the result, but more for the process. And ironically, as a result of that, I became better in, even if I can use the word, promoting my work. I
Yeah.
discovered something by this wonderful gentleman named Matt Church from Australia. He said marketing is generosity. Sharing whatever you know freely about your expertise is generosity. So marketing doesn't have to be this strange thing, or sales doesn't have to be a dirty word. He said sales is love. When you have something to offer, and when somebody's looking for something, that's sales, isn't it? That's love. So it has been an amazing growth process for me. I have to be so much to be thankful for and grateful for. I almost feel guilty sometimes. It's like, did my wife have to leave for me to grow up so much so quickly in such a short time? But it has been that. And so many things to be grateful for. The kids are growing up remarkably, getting a lot more mature and stronger and resilient. And sometimes, I guess it's a so-called loss or a deep loss, which elevates all of us.
Yes.
And from whatever I know about the life's journey and the spirit's journey, you're never gone. The spirit always lives.
That's another piece that I wanted to dig into because you said something. You said after she left her body. You didn't say after she was gone, and you hear
Right.
this when people pass away, the people that are left behind say, oh my gosh, they're gone, they're dead, I'm never going to see them again, I miss them
Right.
so much. And so one of the things that I always say is the spirit is always alive. It's the
Yes.
body that dies, and it's whatever the
Right.
bones and the skin, that is what is no longer alive. And I saw it in my brother when the blood kind of exited his body. You could just absolutely see when the spirit exits the body, then all of a sudden it's a shell, and you can see the difference when you look. And
Right.
the curious self that I am, I really looked at him very closely to see when the spirit would leave, and it was amazing what I saw. And it was almost like there was, in 1 second he was there, and in a split of a second it's a shell, and he
Right.
just became a shell. And so tell us a little bit about that, because I would love to give some hope to the people that are watching, because there's so many people that are leaving their bodies now in our in our country, in the United States of America, and really all over
Right.
the world. And so people are dealing with this.
That's a wonderful question. I would be delighted to do it. And the context I want to give is, I'm just a regular guy.
Yes.
I consider myself a regular, practical guy. I understand. I know the theory of this, that the spirit lives on, and body perishes, and there's nothing to be sad about. Theory is one thing, but experience is different.
Yes, it is.
And that's what I experienced, but it was remarkable. I'll share something personal, but deeply helpful to me and to everybody else, I hope. So my wife, just a few months before that, she has three wonderful sisters. One who had passed away, and they were all very, very close. They grew up very close, and like any close family members have, sometimes they have a little bit of a misunderstanding. And it so happened that they had made a wonderful trip together to honor their older sister who had passed away, and they had some misgivings during that process. And then my wife passes away. And just the day after, Betty, and this is so, I can't, it's amazing. I still get goosebumps. So we had a whole bunch of relatives and family who came as soon as they found out she left. So our youngest child, and we were all doubling up. So the youngest child was with me that time. So we were with our dog. We were lying down together. And early in the morning, just after my wife passed away, when I'm in deep grief, I start smiling because her spirit comes alive, and she actually sharing in her own way. And I don't know how I can explain this, but the message and communication was crystal clear. Just like, hey, give my dog sisters a hug and tell them all is good. I got that clear message, clear as a bell, Betty, and I was smiling, and my youngest daughter was witness to that. So they were very close, and I'm just a typical man, and I know them very well, of course. So I went downstairs to the two older sisters, gave them a tight hug each for the first time in my life, that kind of a hug, and I said, I know everything that transpired between you guys. My wife and I, as you know, are very close. We share everything. Zero hard feelings from my side and from her side. All I have is unconditional love. And I gave her a hug. It was so beautiful. And that was the message that came directly from her. So that tells you, I've heard, I was always fascinated by near-death experiences people have and what they talk about. And my wife and I used to watch stuff like that. And what I find, Betty, is normal human beings who have experiences like these, near-death experiences, or the experience that I had, where the soul is alive and is communicating with you, is something the great saints and enlightened beings have been saying for thousands of years.
Yes.
And when they have that experience, you sound alike. It's ordinary creatures, they just die and come back, and they describe their process, and I'm like, wow, this is exactly what this enlightened being is saying. This is what the scriptures from all religions have said for thousands of years.
I agree.
So that should give us hope, Betty, that we live on, the spirit lives on, and
Yeah.
it's on a journey. Spirit is on a journey of greatness, of perfection, and our job, as long as we're in this body, is to honor that spirit and be the best you can be. And that's the work you and I do, right? So be the best you can be as a leader, be an inspiration,
Absolutely.
and set an
Yes.
example.
Yeah, bringing the genius to the table and have the genius play at this game called life rather
Right.
than the victim, right? When my brother passed away, I had a speaking engagement that same day after we said goodbye. And in the afternoon, I went to the speaking engagement, and my I gave my laptop as usual, and I've been speaking all over the world, so this is not new. And I gave my laptop, and they came back to me. They said it's not working. I said, "Oh my gosh." So I went over and I looked at it. I couldn't make it work, and I said, "Okay, Fernando, can you just release the laptop, please? I know it's you." And it was the funniest thing. All of a sudden, the laptop was released and I was able to do my presentation. But I talked to him because I just knew that it was him, because he used to tinker with things when he was little, with televisions, everything. And so he would take them apart and put them back again. And I know that he was laughing when he did that. And so I'm like, okay, Fernando, stop it. And it was so funny that I will always remember that. And so you can almost feel. Let's talk about, we have about another 7 minutes left, and I want to really go into purpose. We talked about grief and gratitude. Now let's move over to purpose. How did that happen with you? What was that transition for you?
Great question, Betty. So the purpose for me, fortunately, or sometimes I didn't think it was so fortunate, that was very obvious from a very young age. So my purpose is to unravel the answers to these two questions. What's the key to a fulfilling life? And the key to inspiring and effective leadership. And as you know, I discovered that they're connected. You
Yes.
can't separate them. To be an inspirational leader, you've got to have a fulfilling life. You have to be at peace with yourself. So that has been my purpose. The journey has been to uncover the answers to those questions, which required me to take a deep dive within myself and meet some amazing global leaders and spiritual masters, because that's where the answer comes from.
Yes.
So the to realize the purpose and to uplift people and the leaders who have an impact on hundreds and thousands of millions of people is my purpose.
Yes.
So in order to do that, I need to grow myself,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
I found one of the greatest lessons I had to learn through this coaching experience I had with one of the leaders that you know also for many, many years
Yes.
is my job is to help him realize his purpose. Now, since I've dug so much within myself, I know all about him. That's how human beings work.
Of
So mastery is knowing yourself, not figuring somebody else out. Because when you figure ourselves out, it becomes easy to know what the other person is going through, because we are all human beings on the same journey at the end of the day. It doesn't matter where we come from, which country, which religion, which background, which culture, but fundamentally we are up to the same thing.
Yes.
So what I had to watch out for and grow out of was my job is to help them become the best version of themselves, not what I think is best for them. As simple as it sounds, that was the growth, I think I accomplished rather rapidly in the last few months after my past. So the purpose has been deepened, and I think I've become more skilled, if I may use the words, in truly connecting with people, caring for them, and unconditionally supporting the leaders. We forget these powerful leaders need love also. It's a lonely world out there.
Yes,
They're
it
human
is, isn't
beings.
it?
They
Yes.
have grief, they have sadness, they have extreme stress, they have extreme loneliness, they have, mental challenges, mental health issues, because we're all human beings.
Yes.
What you become a leader, a successful leader, because you're intellectually sharp, you have
Yes.
subject matter expertise. It doesn't mean that you're emotionally fully together, that you're spiritually, exactly what you're after. That's the journey one needs to take. And
Yes.
as a coach and an advisor, it's also important not just to assert myself and help them in the journey, but to be kind and give the love that they need. I think that's been truly deepened in the last few months. And I'm
Oh,
delighted. It's not only helped me, but it's helping my clients.
I love that, and I love that we have come to the end of our time together, and ending in this note is so critically important because you said mastery is knowing yourself, and then you also said unconditionally supporting them
Right.
for their journey. A lot of times we tend to do this as leaders, as parents, as coaches, as strategic advisors. We tend to take on the journey
Yes.
for our employees, our children, our spouse, our clients, the people that we tend to help. And those of us who are givers, listen to me. Those of you who are givers that are watching this, it's very easy for us to just take it on and say, look, I will do this for you. By doing that, we take their blessing of learning on their own and taking it beyond us. We take that away from them. And so it's so important for us to, what you said, unconditionally supporting them. And so supporting them unconditionally without shame or blame, allowing them, giving them the tools, and then allowing them to go and try them out. And now they get the training wheels. And that's why they have people like you coming out and saying, look, you go, call me if you need some help. And then you're there to support them, but you're not doing it for them. So what we have learned so far, and I'm going to want you to show your book in just a little bit, because ladies and gentlemen, Sudhir has an incredible book that I highly recommend that everybody order, but don't show it yet because I want to wait for just a little bit. So the key to fulfilling a life is 1, acceptance, 2, feel the sadness, feel it, and talk to your family about it. Make it okay to be imperfect in that moment. It's okay to be yourself. And then 3rd, gratitude. You also found on the other side of this, you found giving, the joy in giving, the joy of being open, the joy of being humble, and the secret to being unconditional. So the secret to giving is, it's in the giving, but it's in the unconditional giving. You also said no regrets. So having no regrets, living a life of no regrets, where you don't have to think about, oh my goodness, I should have, would have, could have, but you just have no regrets. So say it. You talked about marketing being generosity. It's really sharing of yourself. So many times we come to the table, we say, I got mine. I worked really hard, so you can't have it. It's all mine. But really, when we open up and we give completely unconditionally, that is where the secret sauce is to living what I call a life well lived. And you talk about a fulfilling life. It's one and the same. And then mastering yourself and really studying and taking time to master yourself. You've spent a lot of time and money and resources learning more about yourself so that then you can be comfortable enough to help others. I've done the same thing from a very early age. I've spent a lot of time and resources, and I highly recommend that everyone here do the same. And talk about spending time and resources. Let's order your book. Can you show us your book and tell us about it?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Betty. So this is the book, CEO Mastery Journey. We're all CEOs of our lives, and this is about the journey, about the answers to those 2 fundamental questions I've had all my life. What is the key to a fulfilling life, and what's the secret inspiring and effective leadership? So this is the journey
Beautiful.
with examples of leaders I've worked with. It's my life's work, and I think if I may add one thing, we become successful with professional mastery, whatever our subject matter is. You're an exceptional banker, that's your background, you achieve great success. So that's professional mastery. But mastery has 2 other components, especially for leaders and for people who want to lead fulfilling lives. There is personal mastery, where your behaviors have to be aligned with the values. You talk about value-centered leadership, but are our behaviors consistently communicating our values? Without even saying what my values are, my behavior should talk about. So
Yes.
that's personal mastery, which is very important for a leader to be at peace with oneself, right? Then the 3rd dimension of a great leader and a great life is organizational mastery. If you're a leader, it's your responsibility not only to be at peace with yourself, to be inspiring, but to set an example. And then scaling, Betty, becomes easy.
Yes.
Scaling, you got to scale your mindset, right? So not just strategy is important, but you got to scale your mindset, and
Yes.
you have to start with personal mastery. Know yourself, what's my strength, but more importantly, how am I coming in my own way? What's my block? So
Yep.
and then once you do that, then there is a way to connect with people, to inspire them to the next level. That's organizational mastery. So we all know about IQ, which is important for professional mastery, EQ, which is we talk about a lot for personal
Yes.
mastery. But organizational mastery, believe it or not, in my view, is spiritual intelligence, is going beyond yourself to love others unconditionally and elevate others. That's spiritual intelligence. Purpose, knowing what my purpose is. and leading them to their purpose towards the common goal. So spirituality is not something esoteric, steeped in religion. And I would say that it includes and transcends religion. And I
Yes.
think the contribution I can include you also, Betty, you and I make to the world is how spiritual intelligence is key to exceptional leadership and to build purposeful and profitable organizations.
I love that. I love that. It's a beautiful way to end. And we're going to have to get you right back on the podcast so that we can talk about these three, because it's
It would
so
be a pleasure.
critically important to have your EQ, to have your IQ, and to also have your SQ. So having those, that trifecta, you know what it is? It's like a three-legged stool. When you have a two-legged stool, it can wobble. But when you've got that three-legged stool, that trifecta, then nobody can touch you. You are immovable. And when there is complete congruency between those three, your actions, your thoughts, and your practices are all aligned. That is a life well lived. That is
Exactly.
a combination of a life well lived.
And
Well,
that's a purpose, and that's our birthright. And we have a responsibility to lead that kind of a life.
yes, we do. To whom much is given, much is expected.
Yes.
So once we get to a certain point in our life, the more we get, the more responsibility we have. And so when we act with responsibility and when we act with gratitude and all of these beautiful things that you have talked about this morning, these are the things, these are the pieces of the puzzle that create a life well lived. So with
Absolutely.
that, thank you so much, Sudhir.
My pleasure, Betty.
Appreciate you being with us. And ladies and gentlemen, so how do they get a hold of Sudhir Chadalavada?
Thank you so much. I'm active on LinkedIn like you are, not on other social media yet, but I might be. You have inspired me to do that. And I have a website, sudhirchadalavada.com, but LinkedIn, I've been posting regularly. Marketing is generosity, so I'm being generous and sharing everything I know.
Beautiful. Me too. Me too. So it is Sudhir Chadalavada, ladies and gentlemen, Chadalavada. And he is on LinkedIn. I'm going to post this later on LinkedIn, and then I will link to Sudhir's page so that you can find him just in case you seem to lose the name or the number or anything, but he can be found through LinkedIn. Thank you so much, Sudhir. Have
Thank you,
a
Betty. It's
wonderful
been
day.
wonderful. You too.
Absolutely. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.